All right, here we go. All right, joining us, the legendary head football coach of the Pinkerton Astros, Brian O'Reilly, back for another season of football. Coach, do you ever, at some point, lose the luster of the game? Does it become dull at all, or is it always as exciting as it was the year before?
Every year is a new year. Every year is an opportunity to win a championship, and at this point in time, it's never changed for us.
What do you think overall about some of the new kids you've got? You lost, obviously, some senior pieces from a year ago. I guess every team to an extent has, but your thoughts on some of the returnees and some of those guys that are going to try and fill those departed shoes?
I think that we're actually in pretty good shape. I'm very impressed with the younger kids that I saw. Even though we lost some name type of players, we've had a stable of players that have been waiting their turn, and they've responded really well so far.
Again, talking with Brian O'Reilly, head coach of the Pinkerton Astros. Any position battles noteworthy at this point here with the season looming?
The other halfback position, maybe. We're actually building some pretty good depth there. We're pretty much set with T.J. Urbanek, who started at opposite Manny last year at one position. The other position has been a nice, pleasant surprise. We have several players who are all of equal ability. And with T.J. slightly injured the last week, we've been able to play both of those positions, I should say, in scrimmages, and they've all responded well. So we built some pretty good depth there, and that's a challenge as to who's going to be that other starter.
What about the guys up front? Traditionally, you've always had size, really on both sides of the line. Obviously, the key to any run game is a good front five. What about the offensive line?
Probably the biggest one we've had in many, many years.
Really?
It's fairly impressive, to be honest with you. Even from my standpoint, because we not only have size that we've always had, but we've got that kind of height that coaches want. We've got one tackle at 6'4", we've got another tackle at 6'5", we've got a tight end at 6'4". We've got a guard at 6'2", then we have like a high school guard, and center's about 6'1". So we look good coming off the bus, I'll tell you that. And they're pretty good players. They're really, really good height to go with the size, and they're, several of them are pushing 300 pounds. 275, 280-pound kids. So that's not a weakness on our team. We're going to be pretty good up front, and we've been known to run the ball a little bit, so probably that's what we'll do.
Ever surprise you at all as how big some of these players actually are?
I am surprised. We talk. My staff's been together with me for about 35 years now, and we talk about still maybe in our minds the best team we've ever had here is the 1985 team. With Ryan Mahalko, Joe Segretti, and such. And our linemen, who were really good in those days, we had one tackle at 215 and another one at 205, and everybody was 180 to 190-pound kid. And that's 25 years ago. It's just, I'm not really sure what the heck has happened with American society. Maybe it's fast foods, maybe it's additives to food, but there was never, when we started coaching, there was really never any such thing as 280, 290-pound kids across the front. And it's the norm now. We're not the only ones. Everybody's got them. And I don't know. I honestly don't know where it comes from. It's just America's getting bigger and bigger.
I'd imagine it has something to do with probably the food element, which you identified, and combine that with maybe the fact that kids are training more in the off-season, getting the right type of training, and really turning what is an athletic career, an amateur career, into a 12-month-a-year job. Is that a factor as well in your mind?
I think that's a factor for the elite ones. I think that's a factor for the college ones you see and the pro ones. But truly, I mean, these kids are coming in out of middle school already at 250 and 260.
Wow.
I don't think it's because they've been working out in the weight room in middle school. They eat.
Yeah.
And it's a problem across America. It's not, we're heavier than we've ever been, all of us, and I think that's just the way it is nowadays.
Brian O'Reilly, head coach of the Pinkerton football team, joining us here. Does that factor that everyone's now a little bigger, a little faster, a little stronger, does that change into the game plan coaching-wise at all for you?
It does, not for us, but it does for everyone else. We're not going to the spread, but I think one of the big things with the spread is those linemen don't move. They just stand there and block out the sun. And the quarterbacks throw the ball, and the receivers, who are fast-twitch muscles, they catch and move. In college is really the way it goes. Those people in the open field are deadly. But the big guys up front, they're not pulling anymore. They're not running down the line. They're just sitting there, putting their hands on people, and they're very strong and powerful. And so I think it actually has changed the way the game is played. But for those of us who run things like the wing T with pulling guards and such, no. We just try to fit a round peg into a square hole. We make them run.
What's the summer been like for the program here so far? I know you guys have come up short, so to speak, in the championship round the last few seasons. Any I guess anxiousness among the vets to get the season going and get the journey back to the championship underway?
2 or 3 of the kids, but because we lost so many seniors, I didn't see that. I didn't hear that because we didn't have a veteran group coming back. There wasn't any of that unfinished business thing.
Right.
It's just the next group steps up. The next group steps up, and coaching-wise, we like that. But our players, I think they're just trying to do the best they possibly can, and we'll deal with that when we get to November.
How about the program overall? I mean, we've always talked about the success at some of the lower levels, JV, freshman, even in junior high, kind of a feeder system in place. It's been in place for years in Derry.
Oh, yeah.
Is that machine, so to speak, running as well as ever at this point?
I don't think our freshmen have lost a football game in 8 or 9 years. We get fed by the Derry Wolverines. We get fed by the Derry Demons.
Mm-hmm.
We're a regional high school, so we have Hampstead Wildcat kids coming in. We've got some kids who play in Manchester who live in Auburn. We get those kids. Now we have Hooksett kids coming in. We have plenty of kids who are getting plenty of coaching before they get in here. It's not smoke and mirrors here. It's a big school, and there are plenty of kids, and we have to cut on the freshman level always, which is unfortunate, but we have to. We have talent coming up through the ranks, and I'm looking down through the 7th grade that I know of on the local teams, and there's some great talent down there, and it will keep going for a while.
Again, we are joined by Pinkerton Astros head football coach Brian O'Reilly, who, oh, by the way, one of the best lacrosse state coaches as well in the business. Tell me a little bit more about the defense, Coach. When we thought of Pinkerton's defense last year, by and large, the first name that came off the tongue was Matt Madden, who was just a ferocious inside linebacker. I suppose trying to replace him would be priority number one on the defensive side?
Well, we had 3 linebacker scheme last year. Matt's the only one who graduated. We bring back our 2 captains, Jason Hansen and Justin Poitras, who played back there with him. So, surprisingly, maybe for some people, we're really good at linebacker right now. Even though we lost Matt, we're not going to miss a beat there because those 2 can cover a lot of ground. Beyond that, our line is bigger than it was last year, so that's a good part. It's really a question of dealing with the secondary. And half of those kids are back. We should be in good shape for that also.
Anything new defensive scheme-wise? What'd you run, the 4-3 primarily, but you had a really big front line last year as well, right?
Yeah, for the most part, we're in a 50 defense. We've been doing the same thing for decades. I rarely will make a tweak here and there, but if you're playing us and you want to know what we're going to run, we're running the wing T on offense, and we're running a multiple 50 on defense. And some teams change from year to year or every 3 years. We just do what we do, and we know it the best, and that's what we're going to fit into. That doesn't mean that we won't drop a guy off the line and go with a 4-man front once in a while, but big boys, what we normally get, so we want to get many on the line.
Anything new with the coaching staff at all? Maybe not game plan wise, but is there maybe, I don't know, a difference of practice routine this year, or just some kind of wrinkle or element that didn't exist the last couple of seasons with you guys?
No. One of the maintaining things here is, as I said, my top 2 assistants have been with me for 35 years. And if it's not broke, don't fix it. And you can call it broke because we've lost in the championship game recently, but we've been in 9 of the last 10 championship games, and we've won 10 state championships. What we do works, and so it's what we do. We're certainly not going to change it. Practice is exactly the same as it's been for the last 30 years. And same people when they leave. If any of them retire on me, then maybe then we're going to be doing something different. Some new blood comes in and wants to try this or that. But these old dogs, we're not teaching them any new tricks right now. We just go with what we got.
Again, Brian O'Reilly, our guest, Pinkerton. Yeah, do you have kind of a window yourself, Coach? I mean, you've been at it for so long. Do you think at some point, relatively soon, the next few seasons, 5 years or so, that'll be said and done, or are you just going to keep going and see what happens?
I'll keep going for now and see what happens. I've got an idea in my mind, as we all do as we get past the age of 60. But we'll see. A lot of it has to do with Brian Murphy and Mike Gooden, who've been with me. If they're staying, I'm staying. I think a lot of it would be if they decide to leave at some point, they retire or they move on. Then I don't know, But at this point in time, if you're asking me, do I have plans to go somewhere, do something? The answer at the moment is no.
Well,
but
good, Coach.
We'll see.
We love having you. That's for sure. So I hope it's another 20 years you're still on the sideline.
Well, I can tell you it won't be another 20 years. That one I can guarantee.
All right, we'll narrow it down a little bit, I guess. Again, you're listening to the High School Insiders. Pinkerton, certainly going to be one of the candidates, one of the contenders in Division I. And speaking of Division I, Coach, obviously last year the big topic was going into the season, the realignment, going from 10 to 20 teams in the division. What'd you think of that experiment overall last year in 2013?
I kind of liked it. I wasn't sure I was going to like it, but I'm not opposed to it.
I liked it.
I mean,
too.
it has some issues, but for the most part, I think it's a good thing.
What were some of the big differences coaching in it?
Not playing half the teams.
Yeah.
But that was actually kind of interesting when we got to the playoffs and we played Keene, and never having seen them, nor they us, it added a different element to that game. In some ways, a much better element. You could do things that you like to do that maybe you can't do with people who are familiar with you because they know your favorite plays and they could do it. And so that element's in there, although it's not necessarily going to happen. I like that. And the added situation this year of going to UNH, I think, is great. Yeah,
absolutely. Neutral site, big stadium, big venue. You got to like that part of it as well.
Right.
Year number 2, are you a little bit more used to it, maybe more prepared than you were a year ago, now that you've had a taste and you know what to expect in a 20-team division?
We didn't really do anything different last year, so I don't know that we're going to be any better at it this year. We just took it one game at a time, treated them all the same, and then waited until we got to the playoffs and just, went off of that. So I don't see this year having any advantage over that, but I don't know. We don't want to make this more complicated than it is. You play somebody first week, you get ready for that person, and then who's ever next on your schedule, you get ready for them. So it really isn't. I don't see it as that big a deal. I think it's more for the fans than anything else.
We've gone nearly 15 minutes here, Coach. I want to bring in Manny Lattimore's name for the first time. Kind of surprising, given how good he was for you for so long. He is absent now. Now that you've had a minute to kind of digest his career, where does he rank among some of the best runners that you've had through the program in 30-plus years?
Well, statistically, he finished as the second all-time leading rusher behind Matt Jordan. He just missed Matt Jordan's record by, I didn't realize it until afterwards, like maybe 60 or 70 yards. And Matt went on to be a 4-year starter at UMass, won a national championship there. So, that's not bad being behind Matt Jordan, who most considered to be one of the best running backs we've ever had.
From the mid-'90s, right?
Yes, from the early 90s. Matt was on 91, 92, 93, 94, and we won 3 championships in those years. Manny's down at junior college right now. I think in many ways that spread offense that they run down at Lackawanna Junior College might be even better suited for Manny. He's more of a a zone kind of read guy, whereas in the wing T, we moved him around from left half to right half to fullback. But he got his carries, he got his yards, as I said, and second of all time. Great kick returner, great punt returner, so much so that he never had a chance to do it really his senior year. Everyone kicked away from him. And I think he had a great career here. On the other hand, with him gone, in some ways, I'd like to think we might be better because now, I wouldn't take Manny back on a heartbeat, but now it's not quite sure who's getting the ball, which, as a coach, leads a little bit more to deceptiveness in the wing T. So we're hoping that his absence might make us stronger, but maybe that's just wishful thinking.
Either way, you're a little less predictable, I
hope
say.
So. We'll see.
At the bare minimum. Again, talking Pinkerton football with the head coach, Brian O'Reilly. A couple minutes left here on the High School Insiders. Red Sox baseball will follow after that. Week 1 opponent, Coach. Do you game plan this far ahead or
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I have Concord Friday night in the Jamboree. We'll deal with that, and then we'll turn our attention to Alvern on the next day on Saturday. Although at this point in time, we have no idea what they do. New coach, and we'll make contact, and I assume they'll do the right thing, and we'll exchange films and go from there. But I'm not a big one for getting ready for someone longer than is necessary, because then you put too much into it with the kids, maybe, and if things don't turn out well, what then? So we're used to picking up things on the weekend before and playing on a Friday night. That's what we'll wind up doing.
All right. Coach, best of luck on Friday at the Jamboree. That's obviously the heavyweight matchup. I think it's the final one of the day, right? Is that?
It is. 8:30 at night.
8:30 at night under the lights at Gill Stadium. We'll be broadcasting from Gill from 5 to 6:30, part of the High School Insiders Jamboree special. So best of luck as usual. We'll talk to you again real soon, and I appreciate the time, Coach. Thanks again.
Thanks, Nick.
All right, Coach. Thanks again. It's going to air in about 40 minutes.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Bye now.
Bye.